I'm back. I say it as if it's dramatic, and I haven't been on YouTube for a while, but I just haven't filmed in like 2 weeks because I just came back from a cruise. As you can see by my t-shirt, look, it's the Ovation of the Seas. So, those are videos that are probably already out by now, but this isn't that video. This is my favorite films of 2019. Fuck, I gotta go for a whole entire list. I am an avid film watcher, as most of y'all know, and I compiled a list on my Letterboxd. And I'm only doing it now, which is like probably March, April period. I'm filming it in February because I actually wanted to watch the majority of the films that came out in 2019, which I know, it's like, whoa, who does that? Let's just start the video and it's 2019 and then we will actually just talk instead of waiting for movies to come out, because I live in Australia and not everything comes out the day it comes out in America, which is great. We had to wait for New Year's Day for Jojo Rabbit and, what was the other one? Actually, I think Jojo came out Boxing Day. It was, Little Women had to wait for New Year's Day. So that was great. So I have a list of my films. Oh my god, I've got a show more section. Jesus. How many did I watch? I watched 73 films in 2019. Out of the 500 in total I watched, the 510 in total, I watched 73 films from 2019. So yeah, you could probably see this in my 500 movies of 2019 video, but I wanted to do hey, this is my ranking of 2019 films, because I didn't do a ranking. So we're going to start from worst to best. There'll be a times code here, hopefully, that'll say where my top 10 is if you just want to jump to that. But let's just start with my honorable mention. Number 73, I'm not going to number them all, is Cats from 2019, obviously. Watched that on Boxing Day. That was a weird experience. I gave it an NA out of rating, not applicable, because it is just something else. Like The Room, it's just NA. Then we go Aladdin, 1 star. Hellboy, 1 star. Captain Marvel, 3 stars. Glass, 1.5 stars. Now, I'm going to go for obviously my star rating, but I'm also going to, this is my personal preference of what I liked. So, I don't know, I guess I just really didn't like Captain Marvel. It's been a long time since I've watched these films. So yes, Glass, 1.5 stars. Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, 1.5 stars. Brightburn, 3 stars. What Men Want, 2 stars. The Lion King, 1.5 stars. This whole entire section should just be considered as, it's basically crap. Frozen 2, 2.5 stars. Until I Meet September's Love, 3 stars. Gemini Man, 2.5 stars. Descendants 3, 1.5 stars. 5 Feet Apart, 3 stars. Fly Me to Saitama, 3 stars. Child's Play, 3 stars. Dark Phoenix, 2.5 stars. Terminator Dark Fate, 2.5 stars. Yesterday, 2.5 stars. Children of the Sea, 3.5 stars. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, 3 stars. Weathering with You, 3.5 stars. It Chapter 2, 3.5 stars. Good Boys, 3.5 stars. Jumanji The Next Level, 3 stars. Joker, 3.5 stars. Little Monsters, 3.5 stars. Abominable, 3.5 stars. The Color Out of Space, 3.5 stars. Always Be My Maybe, 3.5 stars. These are all 3.5 stars. Dora and City of Gold, 3.5. Godzilla King of the Monsters, 3.5. Zombieland Double Tap, 3.5. The Confidence Man JP. Oh, it's been retitled Romance on here. I don't know why. It's called The Movie in other. Normally, 3.5 stars. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, 4 stars. Long Shot, 3.5 stars. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, 4 stars. Apollo 11, 5 stars. Detective Pikachu, 3.5 stars. Shazam, 3.5 stars. So, of course, you can obviously notice that I'm recognizing some films as better in terms of craft, but my personal preference in terms of enjoyment and rewatchability varies. Rocketman, 3.5 stars. Us, 3.5 stars. Ready or Not, 3.5 stars. In Search of Darkness, 4.5 stars. Masquerade Hotel, 4.5 stars. Alita Battle Angel, 3.5 stars. Spider-Man Far From Home, 3.5 stars. Avengers Endgame, 3.5 stars. Number 25, 1917, 4 stars. Crawl, 4 stars. That was after my second viewing. The Irishman, 4 stars. Hustlers, 4 stars. Missing Link, 4 stars. Dolomite Is My Name, 4 stars. Happy Death Day to You, 3.5 stars. Jojo Rabbit, 4 stars. Uncut Gems, 4 stars. Little Women, 4.5 stars. Toy Story 4, 5 stars. Midsummer, 5 stars. We're now on number 13, El Camino, 4 stars. Ad Astra, 4.5 stars. Ford v Ferrari, 4.5 stars. This is my top 10. My official top 10 favourite films of 2019. The Farewell, 5 stars. The Lighthouse, 4.5 stars. Doctor Sleep, 4 stars. I'm yet to watch the director's cut, but I will purchase it later this week. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 4 stars. Booksmart, 4 stars. Number 5, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, 5 stars. Number 4, Marriage Story, 5 stars. Number 3, Knives Out, 4.5 stars. Number 2, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, 5 stars. Fucking masterpiece. And of course, number 1, probably to be expected, saw it in Australia before most of the Americans, that makes me very, very happy. Parasite, 5 stars. It's my number 1 film, my favourite film of 2019, an absolutely extraordinary film. And I mean, I guess you don't need to hear that from me, given that the Oscars gave it Best Picture and stuff, which actually made me really happy. For once, the Oscars made me happy. What is this? What we're coming to? I think it's time for the world to implode now. Yeah, so that is my favourite films of my whole entire ranking of films for 2019. And I was able to do that in less than 10 minutes. Should I explore any of them further? Probably. I mean, I've rewatched Knives Out twice. Actually, let's just go through my top 10. So, Parasite I've watched twice now. I watched it once in theatre, and I kind of didn't get, like... I'm like, okay, I get it. It's a social commentary, and, like, there's all that, the class consciousness and stuff like that, and it's like... But is it meant to be obvious? Because sometimes, you know, you could watch a masterpiece, but it's like the context, or maybe just what you think is meant to be subtext, is not so surface level. But Parasite is very surface level. It's very on the nose as to what it is, and that's because it's very Bong Joon-ho. I have since seen Snowpiercer and The Host. I have Mother, and I plan to see Memoirs of a Murder at the Astor. Later this year, so that'll be really fun. But I do like his work quite a lot, obviously. But I, of course, kicked it off with Parasite. And on my second rewatch, I was like, yeah, no, this really is a masterpiece. Like, I knew it was, but then sometimes you gotta let it sink in, you gotta understand why. But I thought it was just because I thought, oh, maybe it's a masterpiece because I have to think about it. But no, it's just... I guess I'm smart. I don't know. Is it me saying I'm smart enough to recognize that, or is it just it's just that obvious because it's meant to be? So I don't know if it's a criticism of my intelligence, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was amazing. Portrait of a Lady on Fire was exceptional. It was gorgeous. It was such a wonderful romance. So very tragic and beautiful. Very reminiscent of Call Me by Your Name. Which I also think is a terrific film. I am very excited to see Portrait of a Lady on Fire again, if it ever comes out in Blu-ray in Australia. God knows if that'll happen, but I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. Knives Out, I thought, was a brilliant whodunit. I gave it 4.5 stars because there's a period in the second act once a certain thing is revealed, and I'm kind of like, okay, where's it going to go from here? And that's, of course, this... a regular Rian Johnson subversion of traits and stuff like that. I'm yet to get the Blu-ray. I've pre-ordered the steel case, so that'll be coming in probably April. So, yay. I'm very excited to show my dad that as well. But yeah, I really like the movie. I thought the first act and the final act were terrific. The middle still bores me just a little bit because it's just like it's just run out of steam, but then it slowly builds back up, which I think is the intention. And I very much like that. So hence why I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 5. Sorry that I keep adjusting my glasses. My ears are not having fun today. What do we have next? Marriage Story. I saw this one also. I've seen all of these ones in theatre. So I saw Marriage Story in theatre, not knowing it was a Netflix film. Yeah, the first thing that popped up, a Netflix film. The Netflix logo. I'm like, oh, I could have watched this for free. I didn't mind. I spent $15 to see it, so that was fine. Beautiful film, terrifically acted. I do wish that Adam Driver had won Best Actor at the Oscars, but comic book movies have to get it sometime, I guess. Yeah, I absolutely adore the film, and I'm very, very eager to rewatch it for my Scarlett Johansson review. John Wick Chapter 3, I give it 5 stars almost immediately, because I'm just like, this is amazing. I still think the second act is a bit... Because I get a bit tired by watching so much action, It's amazing stuff, but it can be a little tiring. And of course, it's hard to say which one of the trilogy is my favorite, because they all have big perks. Like, I love the ending, the final act of the second film, but pretty much from the Catacombs onwards, but I think the first half is a bit lacking, and of course because it's like, oh, John's been hired for a job, so it's not a revenge film until it becomes a revenge film. So when it becomes a revenge film, it's suddenly, oh, it's really cool. And it has more meaning and value to it. The first film, of course, is tremendous and amazing, but lacks just in that final fight scene. And this film is just really good, pretty much all around, has some incredible fight scenes, and I'm exceptionally hopeful they'll rewatch it in 4K to get the R18 version, with all the blood and gore. Booksmart, I gave it 3.5 stars on my first go around, but then rewatching it, I love it. It is so entertaining, and I actually want to do a video essay kind of discussion thing on that and Lady Bird, and kind of discuss the idea of high school films. So I'll hopefully be filming that later today. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's a Tarantino film. It is so joyful to watch. I still think I've only just seen it the once, but I have the 4K now. I'll probably get around to it another time, but I love the soundtrack, I love the production design, the acting, the writing. I love so much stuff about this film. I gave it 4 stars because it is still quite long and can feel a bit empty in terms of narrative and focus until you get to that final really tense act. But outside of that, it is really tremendously made. I might pump it up to a 4.5 stars, but for the most part, I'm pretty content where it's at. Doctor Sleep. I thought this would have been terrible, but I went to the theaters and watched it with my best friend, and I love The Shining. I rewatched it on 4K just before watching this film, and holy hell, this film is tremendous. Like, in terms of it being, I could see people complaining about certain aspects of it being reminiscent of The Shining, like, oh, they just refilmed scenes and stuff, but they did. I liked what was it? Red Letter Media had to say about it. They liked, just like I liked, them recasting the characters who played, from the original film, like the young Danny and young and Shelley Duvall's character, of course, and Jack Nicholson's character, Jack and Wendy, and I did like that. I think it took me a bit out of place when I was kind of getting used to it, but I liked it more than it could have been if they had a CGI'd it, which would have been terrible. I like the trippy ass nature of it. Oh my god, the very surreal dream sequence like stuff that they have there is incredibly done. I love Mike Flanagan as a director, and he's done some great films. And I am so happy he did this. It probably, as I said, it probably could have been better as a miniseries instead of as a film. But then I'm interested to see how the director's cut compares to the theatrical cut, because I just kept thinking about this film after I'd watched it for the next week and a half, and I was just like, it is just a tremendous film. But I still did only give it 4 stars because it just had something that I think lacked, and I think because it lent a bit too much on the original film, but there's just all these just minute things that just didn't always flow so well for me. But outside of that, I still thought it was a really good film and really worth watching. It's not an exceptional horror film, but it's very similar to The Shining. It's very tense It's very atmospheric and moody, and I loved it. So I recommend it definitely. The Lighthouse, number 9. I expected to love this film so much, but I thought it was really good. Obviously, gave it 4.5 stars. I love the acting and the cinematography and so much, and the fart jokes and everything. The obvious metaphor for Prometheus and all that kind of stuff is cool. My friend had to explain it to me afterwards because I not always catch on to classic literature stuff because I'm not the most well-educated person in the world. But I think I had a thing like me and my other, because I saw it with Guy and Pierre, and I think it was me and Pierre were kind of falling asleep a bit in it. And Guy said that afterwards, he's like, it's probably because it was in black and white. Like, I watch a lot black and white films. I like black and white films. But I even remember having watched Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein with Helene for Halloween last year, and it was like, I was slightly falling asleep during Frankenstein. It might have been just outside the fact because I'd already watched it before. It might have been for the aspect of because it's black and white. There's not, your brain has to stress more to kind of differentiate what's happening because there's a lack of color. But I still, of course, really admire black and white photography. And then we have The Farewell, which I haven't seen since theater, and I'd love to rewatch it. I don't really know why I kept it in my top 10, but I know that there was something about it that I really, truly loved. And I'm very excited to watch it again eventually. Unfortunately, it's only come out in DVD in Australia, but I guess it doesn't need a Blu-ray, but at the same time, I'd much prefer a Blu-ray. It is an A24 film, and that would be quite nice for my collection. But it is a beautiful film. It's so brilliantly written and acted, and Awkwafina is... I think that's how you pronounce the name. It's weird. She's amazing in the film. The whole cast is amazing. It's hilarious. It's really dramatic. It really flows quite well. It's a beautiful film. So I'd highly recommend that one as well. And yeah, and then of course Cats. Holy hell, definitely watch Cats. Best thing in the world. Can't wait for the 4K. 10 out of 10. Cool. That's it for now. I plan to do a favorite TV shows of the decade, because I can't really do a favorite films of the decade. Maybe, hard to say. So let's just jump into that, and I'll see you next time. Adios.